has been interesting times for Qantas. Outgoing CEO Alan Joyce has faced a grilling this week from a Senate inquiry that's been looking into Qantas's profits and service after the government blocked the request by Qatar for additional flights into and out of Australia. I'm joined now by a member of that panel, Nationals Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie, who also has transport in responsibility. Thanks for your time. Look, I know so much focus in terms of this Qatar issue. Where do you sit in terms of an explanation for what exactly happened here, and will you be able to get any more answers in terms of freedom of information?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Great to be with you. And I just wanted to say I welcome that announcement by Alan Joyce on behalf of Qantas and Jetstar customers. It's their money, and those COVID flight credits being refunded in full in the middle of a period when people are actually struggling to pay their bills is great news, and I'd call on other airlines to follow their lead. In terms of the Qatar decision, at the last sitting week, I lodged an order of production of documents into the Senate after we'd asked both government ministers and indeed the Trade Minister to provide advice to the Senate around why the Minister for Transport made that decision, why the government cancelled or rejected the application by Qatar Airways for additional flights. That wasn't forthcoming, so we'll be debating that next week in the Senate, and I hope the Labor Party does the right thing and provides the real reason they made that decision, because right now they've given upwards of 6 different reasons they rejected Qatar Airways' call for additional flights.
So you're trying to push for the official department advice to see if that aligns with the minister's advice, but there's no provision or method to make that happen at this point. Is that how to sum up the situation?
No, well, if the Senate decides to vote on Tuesday next week that the government needs to enter the chamber and table the documents that they use to make that decision, that's what the Senate will do. And every indication I have is that crossbench senators are concerned about this, the Greens political party is concerned about this, and obviously as Liberal and National senators, we've been calling for this level of transparency for a long time. Catherine King can't say it's the national interest or it's, I think Stephen Jones came out this week saying the decision was made to protect Qantas's profitability when they just posted $1.7 billion. At the end of the day, we know this decision has kept prices higher than they need to be, has meant Australians don't have the choice of destination that they'd like, has impacted our tourism industry and indeed our traders and our exporters, because those bellies of those planes into the Middle East are full of export product.
On those Stephen Jones comments around protecting Qantas, does he have a point? Not that Qantas needs protecting at all costs, but when the government is weighing up any given decision, competition is good, keep prices low, but we do need a national carrier. Is it about getting the balance right rather than letting the market rip? Is that your view on this?
Well, Tom, I think competition is always good. I live in a regional capital, and when we've only got one carrier coming into Albury Airport, prices are through the roof. The more carriers we get in, the lower prices are and the more choices we have of the destination. That is just simple economics. So just to your actual point, of course we want a prosperous aviation industry. We want them to be profitable. They're employing tens of thousands of Australians in great careers right across the country. But right now, international airfares are up 50% on what they were pre-COVID. And Qantas is posting profits like they have. Alan Joyce is walking out with a sweetheart payout deal. So it is right and proper for us to ask serious questions about what did the government base that decision on, because right now they've gone from lower emissions, Qantas needs more planes, to protecting profits. Just tell us the real reason, because it's
don't cut our
not
lunch.
to
We're
think.
trying,
It's the
as journalists as well. If I can just ask you briefly, though, Senator, on that sort of competition aspect, is it fair to say it's not that you can never think about the national carrier, but if you're going to pull a lever that's against competition, be pretty cognizant of all the other factors. It's a last resort. Is that fair to sum up the principle?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I find incredible, the government also, on the other side of their relations, announced a competition task force. Now, in the light of these live debates that we're having about our international, our domestic competitiveness and cancellations and delays going in the wrong direction, at both internationally and domestically, the government has explicitly ruled out of that competition task force looking at our aviation industry. I mean, it beggars belief. So once again, has Anthony Albanese overruled Treasurer Jim Chalmers when it comes to his competition task force, or are they just not talking to each other and understanding that Australians want a focus on lower prices, greater reliability in our aviation industry, rather than protecting the fat cats?
The ACCC inquiry's raised some eyebrows. We've probably all had some sort of conspiracy theory around flights cancelled, and if this is right, maybe it's true. We've been buying tickets on flights already cancelled, and once you're a few weeks waiting and you want to transition that flight, it generally costs a bit more.
Yeah, Tom, you're dead right. And what the the latest figures in July show is that golden triangle between Sydney, Melbourne and Canberra, one of the busiest flight routes in the world, they've got 3 out of 10 of those flights get cancelled or delayed like 30% of the cancellation delays are in that triangle. And so when people talk about the hoarding of slots out of Sydney, about who can fly in and out and when, and that the claims that some of the bigger airlines, not just Qantas, but our major carriers, are effectively hoarding those slots to keep prices high and are automatically moving travellers onto the next flight. It's hard not to think that that's not happening. So the Treasurer needs to include aviation in his competition task force.
Get some more flights for Canberra, I say. Way too expensive for me to get up and see the Lions in the qualifying final. I can hear viewers say, cry me a river, Tom, so I'll leave it at that. Can I ask you finally, Senator, your view on your colleague in a coalition sense, Bridget Archer, campaigning alongside Anthony Albanese. She supports the Indigenous voice to Parliament. Is that just part of the broad church?
Well, we saw in the last referendum that this country held that people from different political parties campaigned for the side of the referendum that they personally supported. And this is no different. Obviously, I don't agree with Bridget. I'm a very respectful no in this constitutional change. I just hope the debate is held with in a respectful tone so that Australians make the quiet decision in the ballot box that they believe they need to. And in the absence of the detail from the government, there'll be a lot of Greens voters, there'll be a lot of Labor Party voters that also choose to vote no, just as there are some Liberals voting yes.
Yeah, and so you're totally comfortable with her campaigning alongside the PM today?
Well, I'm not going to tell, I have my personal view. I'm going to express that respectfully. That is that you can believe in reconciliation and recognition and vote no to the constitutional change because of the unintended consequences it will bring. And other people have a different view to me, which they're equally able to respectfully express.
Senator, appreciate your time today. Thank you.